an ancient cuisine, and we're talking more than 3,000 years ago. And climate change is very important. It affects the agricultural cycles. It affects the spontaneous production of insects, edible insects, edible flowers, and edible greens, wild greens that we eat a lot.
Because people usually don't link climate change with food, and also don't link climate change with culture, but they're
Oh, yes.
What do you
yes,
think about that?
In Mexico, the food is completely mingled with culture and with religion too, because for every saint, this or that feast, we have a special food. We have special food for Dia de la Candelaria, the 2nd of February. We have tamales in every Mexican home. Every Mexican home, there is tamales on the 2nd of February. And for the 6th of January, we have a special meal, and we have a special food for every saint.
We haven't had time to eat much yet in the conference because we're working. But what have you been doing here in this conference?
I've been coordinating the production and the supervising the authenticity of the food. It has to be Mexican, and because Mexican government, we are the hosts, so we have to offer authentic Mexican quality food.
And how do you think the guests, all the delegates and the people here, are they liking it?
I don't know. I think they're liking it, but I see them very, very serious, walking with their briefcases, you know, telephones, earphones. They're so busy working. I really don't know if they have had time to enjoy the food.
Well, if they were going to taste one Mexican dish before they leave, what should we all eat before we leave?
It's very difficult because Mexico, like I'm sure Lebanon, like France or Italy, has different food for each region because it has different geographical characteristics and different indigenous groups. Fortunately, Mexico still has between 12 million indigenous people who still speak their language, eat their own food, and have their own conception of religious.
So they should try to taste everything.
Yes, but now the conference is being held in Cancun, which is the southeast of Mexico. We are in the heart of a very, very important culinary area of Mexico. Food from Sureste, from Yucatan, Quintana Roo, Campeche is very, very peculiar because, you know, Mexico is very big and it's very long, and it didn't have railroads or highways or communication, so it was easier for the big ship to stop in Yucatan than to go to Mexico and then bring all the things here. So here there is this mingling of culinary products, of like Dutch cheese with the local achote and the local ingredients and techniques. There is a very, very rich indigenous culture in this area.
Wow. And
many people still speak Maya.
And how did food get on the climate change agenda? You were talking about a very special...
Well, I think it started by a concern of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ms. Patricia Espinosa, a concern for the quality and the authenticity of the food that was going to be served to the delegates and people coming. This was my entrance excuse, and being here, you know, it has become like an issue. You
And finally, what would you say to, I saw the young kids, there's quite a few people in the audience today. How did you feel about that?
Oh, they were turned on. They were participating. They felt like I was bringing a little light for, you know, they are the most affected by all this influence of external fashions of eating. So they were very happy. They were asking me so many questions. And
do you think they will each go home and maybe learn a traditional recipe?
Yes, yes. I'm sure at least I made them think, to decide before buying something, before putting something into their mouth and body. Think the consequences.
Great. Well, I hope I get to taste your cooking before we leave. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.
Well, that talk of food's made me quite hungry. Hopefully
I know what you mean.
It's about 10 to 7 in the evening here in Mexico, and we haven't had an opportunity to have lunch or dinner yet. So it's rumbling some stomachs.
Yes, but on the upside, we're getting lots of really interesting comments. So thank you for everyone who's watching us and communicating live with us. Jeff from The Hague says that climate change is affecting the diet in Vietnam. His parents are on holiday there, or they were on holiday there, and they said that because of the flooding going on in parts of the country, 1 of 3 annual rice harvests doesn't happen anymore. Imagine, a third of your food just gone. Thank you, Jeff. Also, goodnesstv.org is broadcasting our feed, so thank you very much. They're also very happy to see us.
Thank you very much, Goodness TV. Yeah, I should mention this as well. If you're watching us on OneClimate.net and you think that our coverage is worth sharing, which I hope that it is, you'll notice at the top of the page that there's a little link on the top right that says "Get the video live on your site," and that contains embed code, which allows you to embed the full live channel with the chat box into your website for free, completely for free. So
spread the word.
Spread the word. Yeah, help us get the message out from Cancun. Talking of spreading the word, we are here in Mexico at the Cancun Climate Conference, and we're not the only people here. It is quieter than Copenhagen, but there's still a lot of good stuff coming out of this conference. And over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be bringing you the best videos from our partner organisations, Tick 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 and Oxfam and Practical Action. We're also going to be looking at what bloggers are coming up with, and so we've got some of the most interesting blogger videos lined up for you. A number of experts are doing video blogs here, and we thought we'd give you a taste.
It's quite interesting this year, isn't it? How many experts are doing their own blogs?
Yeah, and I think actually on Thursday next week, possibly, we're going to try and look at media coverage of climate change and then the impact of new media and social media. So we've already done recorded some interviews in the mornings here with some mainstream journalists as well as some bloggers and some academics. So hopefully we should have a bit of an interesting take on that. But yeah, we'll show you these. We'll show you these expert interviews now, or expert blogging updates now. Give you a bit of taste of what they've been thinking. First of all, we've got Salim Al-Hook, who some of you might know if you've been following our channel. He's spoken to us before in Bonn and in Copenhagen, and he's really got a spot-on knowledge of what's happening, especially on big issues such as adaptation, which we'll be covering in tomorrow's show. So here's what Salim Al-Hook hopes from this conference.
Today is Sunday, the 28th of November. I'm here in Cancun, and the Conference of Parties is going to begin tomorrow morning on Monday the 29th. We've been here several days already doing some pre-COP workshops for the least developed country negotiators. We did 2 days of workshops. The first day before yesterday, was for the Asian least developed country negotiators. We had about 20 of them and a day-long discussion preparing for the negotiations. And then yesterday we did another similar session for the African negotiators from the least developed countries to discuss the upcoming issues in Cancun. And tomorrow they're all going to, today there was a meeting of the G77 negotiators and delegates to prepare their positions, and tomorrow there'll be the beginning of the plenary, and then the discussions and the Conference of Parties will begin. In Cancun, we're looking forward to some decisions, particularly on finance. That seems to be the highest priority, and within that, particularly on the fast-track finance of $30 billion over 3 years, which was promised in the Copenhagen Accord and needs to be discussed in the Framework Convention here. And then along the negotiating tracks, we are expecting some progress on 3 of them, particularly adaptation, and also possibly on RED, and also on technology transfer. Everybody knows that we will not have any progress on mitigation targets and a legally binding agreement. These are things that will take longer and will not be resolved in Cancun. But at least on these 3 negotiating tracks, it's possible that we have progress. It all revolves around whether or not countries continue to take the all or nothing approach they took in Cancun, where the motto was nothing is agreed until everything is agreed, and obviously in the end nothing happened, to a more interesting motto, incrementalist motto as it were here, a pragmatic motto, which is that something is better than nothing, and that something may be achieved here as long as people are willing to compromise and accept partial agreements. So we shall see over the next 2 weeks, and I will continue to feed back every night on progress being made.
Very interesting insights from Salim there, and very interesting to see him filming himself and putting his blog up, and we're definitely going to have him with us in the studio.
Yeah, we're going to talk to it. Our studio is quite a liberal use of the word studio there. Incidentally, we are hoping to move to more comfortable surroundings. We've been battling for the last, well, Jamie, our tech man's been battling for months to secure us a good internet connection, and
we'll also be covering that later.
Yeah, fingers crossed we'll get one to a nice location tomorrow. But he will be joining us, we hope, next week, and he'll give us his insights into the talks. He's been following these for years now, and is really got some interesting things to say. And also we will chat to him about his movement into the world of video blogging.
What's next, Adam? What have you got for us next?
Well, it's exciting. We've got Duncan Marsh. He's the Director of International Climate Policy at the Nature Conservancy, and he's also been doing some video blogs, and he's got one looking at the big issues here at COP16, and that's something which people have been asking about in the comments, like what can we hope to be resolved? Well, maybe this will give you a little bit of an insight into that. Here are the big issues.
Hi, I'm Duncan Marsh. I'm Director of International Climate Policy for the Nature Conservancy. I'm here with the Nature Conservancy group at the UN climate talks in Cancun, Mexico, which will be going on for the next 2 weeks. It's significant that these talks are here in Cancun. Mexico, being part of Central America, is one of the most vulnerable regions of the world to climate change. Just off the coast here in Cancun is the Mesoamerican Reef, one of the world's 3 great barrier reef systems. And the Mesoamerican Reef is subject to the impacts of climate change in several ways. For instance, sea level rise can impact the whole reef system and the surrounding islands. Ocean acidification and rising sea temperatures can contribute to coral bleaching or the death of the corals that the reefs are structured upon. So these sorts of vulnerabilities are shared by many countries around the world. And at the same time, countries are acting on climate change in significant ways. Let's look at Brazil, for example. In 2008, Brazil instituted a national climate change plan. As part of that plan, it created a blacklist of the municipalities in Brazil that have the highest deforestation rates. And it created an incentive system for these municipalities to get off that blacklist, and by taking away the tax credits and financing benefits they had for their agricultural programs, creating a natural incentive for the municipalities to move off. The Nature Conservancy has been working with several of these communities, and in the case of one, Paragominas, we have been successful, or the community has successfully gotten off that blacklist. So this is a natural incentive program in Brazil to reduce its rates of deforestation, the types of leadership that countries need to be showing around the world. And these talks here in Cancun are a means of creating a system to allow nations to cooperate around these types of actions. We need to see more by all countries, and that really needs to start in the U.S. Last August, the U.S. Senate declined to vote on a climate change bill. This is a real setback for these not just U.S. action, but for these negotiations too. We need in the next several years to see the U.S. taking much stronger action, showing the kind of leadership it needs to take into these international negotiations.